Imagine you are a German officer in 1944. You are standing on the battlefield of Europe. Around you are some of the most powerful weapons ever created. Massive German tanks like the Tiger and Panther dominate the battlefield. Their armor is thick, their guns are terrifying, their engines roar like monsters. You believe nothing can stop them. Then suddenly a small American vehicle appears. No giant cannon, no heavy armor. No intimidating size, just 4 wheels, a machine gun, and a group of fearless soldiers. But within minutes, that small vehicle has destroyed your supply lines, attacked your positions, disappeared into the battlefield, and returned before you can even react. This was the American Jeep. And surprisingly, some German soldiers began to fear these small vehicles almost as much as they feared American tanks, because the Jeep was not designed to win a tank battle. It was designed to do something even more dangerous. It gave American soldiers speed. And in war, speed can sometimes be more powerful than armor. This is the story of how a simple vehicle changed modern warfare, and why German officers realized that America's smallest military machine could create some of the biggest problems on the battlefield. The creation of a legend. Before World War II, military leaders around the world were searching for a lightweight vehicle that could move soldiers and equipment across difficult terrain. The U.S. Army needed something fast, reliable, and simple. Something that could handle mud, snow, deserts, forests, and destroyed roads. The answer became the Jeep. Manufactured mainly by companies like Willys, Jeep, and Ford, the Jeep became one of the most recognizable vehicles of World War II. It was small. It was light. It looked almost harmless. But behind that simple design was a machine built for one purpose: to keep the army moving. The Jeep could carry commanders, weapons, ammunition, radio equipment, wounded soldiers, and supplies. It could pull trailers. It could cross places where larger vehicles struggled. And most importantly, it could appear anywhere. Why German soldiers feared it? The German military was famous for its powerful tanks. The Tiger tank was one of the most feared machines of the war. It had extremely thick armor and a powerful 88mm gun that could destroy enemy tanks from long distances. But the Germans learned an important lesson. A war is not only won by destroying enemy tanks. A war is won by controlling movement. And this was where the Jeep became dangerous. A tank was powerful, and it was heavy. A tank needed fuel. A tank needed maintenance. A tank could not easily move through narrow roads or rough terrain. The Jeep had none of these problems. It could move quickly, strike, and disappear. German commanders started facing a new kind of enemy, not a huge armored vehicle, but a fast-moving force that could attack from unexpected directions. The Jeep, the eyes and ears of the army. One of the Jeep's greatest advantages was reconnaissance. Before an army moves, it needs information. Where is the enemy? How many soldiers are there? Where are their defenses? The Jeep became the eyes of American forces. Small groups of soldiers could drive ahead of the main army, collect information, and report back. This gave American commanders something extremely valuable: knowledge. A tank might destroy an enemy position, but a Jeep could help an entire army decide where to attack. German officers understood that these small vehicles were constantly watching them. They were difficult to catch, difficult to stop, and always moving. The machine gun Jeep, one of the most feared versions of the Jeep, was the orange Jeep. Soldiers began mounting machine guns onto these vehicles. Suddenly, the Jeep transformed from a transportation vehicle into a fast attack platform. A Jeep carrying a machine gun could move quickly around enemy positions and attack from the side. It was not meant to fight tanks. It was meant to fight everything around the tanks. German infantry, communication lines, supply trucks, command posts. The Jeep became a hunter. The power of mobility. During World War II, the German military created a strategy called Blitzkrieg. The idea was simple: move fast, attack quickly, destroy enemy defenses before they can react. Germany became famous for using speed. But later in the war, the Allies used that same idea against them. American forces had enormous industrial power. They could produce thousands of vehicles, thousands of trucks, thousands of Jeeps. The battlefield became a place where movement decided victory. The German tank might destroy several American vehicles, but behind those destroyed vehicles were hundreds more arriving. The Jeep represented something bigger: America's ability to keep moving. The Normandy invasion. On June 6, 1944, Allied forces launched the largest amphibious invasion in history. D-Day. Thousands of soldiers landed on the beaches of Normandy, France. The battlefield was chaos. Roads were destroyed. Cities were damaged. Communication was difficult. The Jeep became essential. It carried officers between positions. weapons. It delivered messages. It moved ammunition. It transported wounded soldiers. It helped commanders control one of the most complicated military operations ever attempted. While tanks fought at the front lines, Jeeps helped keep the entire invasion alive. But the most surprising part was still coming, because after D-Day, American forces began moving across Europe at incredible speed. And German commanders discovered that the Jeep was not just a vehicle, it was a symbol of a new style of warfare. A war where speed, information, and flexibility could defeat even the strongest weapons. The small vehicle that destroyed German plans after the beaches of Normandy, something unexpected happened. The German military, which had once terrified Europe with fast-moving armored attacks, was now facing an enemy that was even faster. The Americans were not only bringing tanks, they were bringing thousands of smaller vehicles that kept the entire army alive, and among them was the Jeep. To many people, the Jeep looked like a simple utility vehicle. But on the battlefield, it became something completely different. It became the connection between every part of the army. A tank could destroy, a rifle could kill, but the Jeep allowed the entire military machine to move, and that was something German officers could not ignore. The Jeep and General Patton's fast war. One of the American commanders who understood mobility better than anyone was George S. Patton. Patton believed that speed and aggression could break the enemy before they had time to recover. He was famous for pushing his troops forward quickly. His army needed vehicles that could keep up. The Jeep became one of the most important tools in Patton's style of warfare. Commanders used Jeeps to move between units. Officers used them to personally reach the battlefield. Radio operators used them to maintain communication. The Jeep allowed commanders to see the battle with their own eyes. Instead of sitting far behind the lines, officers could drive directly toward the action. This created a faster decision-making system, and faster decisions often meant victory. The nightmare of German supply lines: a powerful army is useless without supplies. Tanks need fuel. Soldiers need ammunition. Vehicles need spare parts. Food and medical equipment must reach the front. During World War II, supply lines became one of the most important targets. The Jeep became dangerous because it helped Allied forces protect and attack these supply networks. A Jeep could move through areas where larger vehicles could not. It could transport soldiers behind enemy lines. It could carry radios that helped coordinate attacks. It could quickly deliver messages that changed battlefield decisions. German forces began realizing something: the Jeep was not fighting the war alone. It was helping thousands of other weapons fight better. Why the Jeep was sometimes more useful than a tank. A tank is powerful, but power has limitations. A tank is heavy. It needs special transportation. It requires trained crews. It consumes large amounts of fuel. The Jeep was the opposite. It was simple. It was cheap. It was easy to repair, and thousands could be produced. This was a major advantage for the United States. American factories were producing vehicles at a speed Germany struggled to match. If one Jeep was damaged, another could replace it. The German military often had advanced technology, but the Allies had something equally important: mass production. The Battle of the Bulge in December 1944, Germany launched its final major offensive in the West. The Battle of the Bulge, German forces attacked through the freezing forests of Belgium and Luxembourg. At first, the Germans achieved surprise. The weather was terrible. Allied aircraft could not operate effectively. German troops pushed forward. But eventually, American forces responded. And once again, mobility became the difference. Jeeps carried officers through difficult roads. They transported messages between units. They helped move supplies. They carried soldiers through snow and damaged terrain. The battlefield was changing every hour. The ability to move quickly became priceless. The Jeep was everywhere. The airborne connection. Another reason the Jeep became famous was its role with airborne forces. Paratroopers needed equipment that could be transported easily. The Jeep was perfect. It could be dropped by aircraft. It could move quickly after landing. It could carry weapons and supplies. For airborne soldiers, mobility after landing could determine survival. A soldier on foot might take hours to move. A Jeep could change the situation in minutes. German officers and the lesson of mobility. The German army entered World War II believing heavily armored vehicles would dominate future battles, and in many ways they were right. German tanks were among the most advanced of their time, but the war revealed another truth. A weapon is only as effective as the system supporting it. A Tiger tank without fuel was useless. A Panther tank without ammunition was useless. A powerful army without communication was vulnerable. The Jeep solved these problems. It connected everything. That is why some German soldiers respected it, not because it was stronger than a tank, but because it made the entire enemy army stronger. The psychological effect war is not only about weapons, it is also about fear. German soldiers knew that American forces could appear quickly. A quiet road could suddenly become an attack road. A small vehicle could carry a commander, a radio operator, or a machine gun team. The Jeep created uncertainty, and uncertainty creates pressure. The enemy never knew where American forces would move next. The Jeep after World War II, when the war ended in 1945, the Jeep had already become legendary. It was no longer seen as just a military vehicle. It became a symbol of American innovation. It influenced future military vehicles around the world. Modern military designs still follow many ideas introduced by the Jeep: mobility, reliability, flexibility, speed. The Jeep proved that size does not always decide power. The story of World War II is often told through giant battleships, massive tanks, and powerful aircraft. But sometimes history is changed by something much smaller. The American Jeep was not the biggest weapon on the battlefield. It did not have the strongest armor. It did not carry the largest gun. But it carried something more important: the ability to move. It carried commander to decisions. It carried supplies to soldiers. It carried communication across battlefields. And it helped turn an army into a machine that could move faster than its enemy. That is why German officers learned an unexpected lesson. The most dangerous weapon is not always the one with the biggest gun. Sometimes it is the one that arrives first. The Jeep was small, but its impact changed the course of World War II.